Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I have thought a lot about the last week of my life, and I could say with full certainty that it's the worst one so far. Things I never even imagined could happen have come to pass, and now I don't know how I'll look after my kids when I can barely look after myself. My life is turned upside down, and I'm rethinking all my decisions. I'm considering going back to my a hole husband, and before I take any decisions in this emotional state, I wanted to ask for outside opinion. So, this subreddit is as good a place as any to know if I'm right in the way I reacted or if I'm just an a hole who didn't bother to think about her kids and did whatever was suitable for me. I don't work anywhere. I quit my job as a middle school teacher after getting pregnant because I wanted to raise my kids and give all my time to them. My husband works at a legal firm, and his work alone is more than enough for us to live a pretty good life. That's why it was an easy decision to quit my job and be a stay at home mom. This was about 5 years ago, and in this span of time, I've had two kids, both of which are toddlers. They both require a lot of energy, and by the time the day is finished, I find myself completely drained. My husband usually travels to different cities because of his cases, and we rarely get to spend time with each other. He also could barely spend time with the kids, let alone help me with them. So last week, I was going about my day as usual and was playing with the toddlers when my son asked me why I was not allowing them to go to Grandma's house. I was confused by this sudden statement and asked him what he meant by that. He told me that he heard Dad talking over the phone about going on a vacation for the weekend, and when he asked Daddy to take him with him, he told him he cannot do that since Mom wouldn't allow them. I figured that my husband must have said that to get out of an incoming argument and full on crying fest. But what struck me as odd was the fact that my toddler referred to his trip as vacation and it's on weekend. My husband does go out on weekdays for work, but he had never once traveled for work on a weekend. So the fact that it's on a weekend automatically means it's a vacation, and my toddler isn't mistaken. Secondly, if my husband was planning a vacation, why did he not let me know? So I asked my kid if there's anything else he heard. He told me that Dad said he's going to go on a surprise trip to Grandma's and not to tell Mom because if Mom would find out, she wouldn't even let Dad go. Now, I was utterly shocked. My husband purposefully asked our kid to hide stuff from me, and his vacation is to my mother in law's house, which in itself was a surprise since they don't like each other's company. That day, after I put my kids to bed, I thought a lot about what my kid told me, and I was so bothered by the whole thing that I decided to ask my mother in law about this trip. The next morning, I called my mother in law, and as soon as she picked up, I asked her if she knew anything about her son coming down to meet her. She said that yes, she talked to him about a few days ago, and that's when he informed her how he needed to take a vacation and he will be coming home for a while before going to the family farmhouse. But she sounded confused for some reason. She was silent for a while, and I guess that there's more to what she was saying. So I asked her what was on her mind, and what she said completely froze me. She told me that she's just wondering why I was asking her about the trip when her son told her that he needs the farmhouse all to himself for the weekend and that we shouldn't visit him there since he'll be going there with me to spend some quality time because lately it's been hard for us to get alone. I was confused because what she was saying didn't make any sense. Why would my husband ask her to let him use the farmhouse with me when he had clearly not mentioned anything about this vacation? Also, if he was planning to just take me there, why did he tell our toddler to hide his vacation from me? Things didn't make any sense. I told my mother in law he must have forgotten to mention it and that she should not mind our conversation much. Then I excused myself and hung up the phone. For the next 2 days, I waited and observed my husband. I thought he would mention us going away sooner or later, but 2 days went by without him giving me any hint that he wanted to get out of the house. In fact, because I was keeping a careful eye on him, I noticed some suspicious behavior that I missed before. He was taking secret calls late at night and would talk in a quiet voice around the house. So on Friday night, I followed him when one of these calls came and I heard him tell somebody that his plans for the weekend are still on. He reassured whoever was on the other line that he would get away from the house at any cost, and they didn't have to worry about his wife. Then he told the person on the other end that he loves them and is very excited to spend some private time with them after sneaking around for months. I was shocked with fear and hurt. It was as clear as ice from their conversation that my husband was having an affair. I don't know what came over me at that time, but I couldn't bring myself to confront him. I only backed out of the room and went back to the kitchen. I busied myself with the dishes while constantly thinking about what I had just heard. That night, I couldn't sleep a wink, and the next day, when my husband told me he had an emergency case for which he needs to fly out for 2 days, I just smiled and told him to have a safe flight. The moment he was gone, I started packing my stuff and asked my kids to get ready. I told them we were going on our own vacation since Daddy isn't home, and then I left the house. I was hurt and angry and didn't want to think that I was being cheated on in a marriage. It was easier to just walk out with whatever respect I had instead of begging him to work things out with me. It's been a week since then, and my husband has called me a million times. I only sent him a text saying I'm staying with my sister for a while, but still haven't told him anything about my knowing about his affair. But lately, I've been considering the fact that I don't have a job or a source of income, but still two kids who are dependent on me for their well being. I don't know if I should put my pride away and just go back to my husband. I don't know if I want to even tell him the truth or just continue to pretend like nothing is wrong until my kids have grown up. AITA for reacting like this? Am I being too prideful right now and not considering my kids' future and all this? Is it too much to be scared that my husband might decide to divorce me and leave my kids if I confront him about this affair? Many of you were asking me what happened after my original post and whether I confronted my giant a-hole of a husband about his love affair, so I decided to leave an update here. I did think a lot about my options in that situation and finally decided that some things needed priority over my own pride and feelings. So I went back to my husband and decided to talk to him. Before I left for home, I texted him that I know about his vacation to the farmhouse, just in case I lose my nerve on my way. This way, I made sure that we had no choice but to talk about the truth of our relationship. As soon as I reached home, my husband started apologizing to me. He told me it's not what I think and he could explain himself. I may be a housewife, but I wasn't an idiot, and I just gently reminded him to not insult my intelligence by denying the truth. I told him there's no point in apologizing now or to explain in detail how we got to that point. I only wanted to talk about where we will go from now on and what will happen to our kids. He knew better than to try and argue with me when I've made up my mind, so he just asked me what I wanted to do. We went back and forth the whole night. There was a lot of crying and screaming. After almost a week of talking things out, I was completely drained and mentally exhausted with that topic of conversation. I finally told him I'm willing to put things in the past and give us a fresh start if he promises to end everything. He told me he had already ended his affair the day he found out I knew about it. So now we've been trying to move on and just live the best way we could for our kids. It's been almost a year and a half since I updated here. My relationship that I was trying so hard to work on with my husband ended up being destroyed. We couldn't work things out, and somehow we grew to hate each other so much that it was hard for us to stay in a room without chewing each other's heads out. So, when it was clear that our constant fights and aggressive behavior was affecting the growth of our children, we decided it was best to separate. About 2 weeks ago, my divorce was finalized with my husband and kids still living with me. We agreed that my husband will give me child support and money for my own expenses until the kids reach middle school, and I'll be free to get myself a job. Even though we ended up getting divorced, surprisingly, our life is much less complicated now, and I'm starting to be happy again. NTA, no way are you the a hole, and your decision to walk about without confronting him was the best one for you. Having kids does complicate things, and yes, you should always put them first, but that doesn't mean that you need to put up with someone else's crap. You deserve to be respected, and if you need time to sort through your feelings, then you should absolutely take it. NTA, not everyone can face up to their a hole husband instantly, and there's nothing wrong in taking a step back and thinking things through before making your decision. You did the right thing, and don't let anybody tell you that you're a bad mom. My new husband and I went on vacation in July, and we decided to elope while we were gone. It was something we had planned but left undecided when we left, but we did it. My family were very disappointed in our decision to elope, especially my part in it, and now I feel conflicted. I have a sister who is a year younger than me. She was born with a disability and chronic health issues. As a child, she battled cancer also, and it came back just over a year ago. They haven't called it terminal yet, but the whole family is just waiting for the day her doctors say it is. Because of her health and disability, over the years, she has been the main focus, and she has come first 99% of the time before me. She told me before she likes when it happens because it shows everyone cares and isn't sick of her. But it has been hard for me when it's something for me and she ends up being celebrated instead. It happened at my graduation because she had only been in the hospital days before, and everyone said it was worth celebrating that she could make it outside for a while, and that it was the best part of the day. When I turned 21, it became a celebration of the fact she could be there all night and that at that time she was doing the best she ever had. My now husband, boyfriend at the time, went to get the cake, and when he and my friends started singing happy birthday, my family, both immediate and extended, were too focused on my sister to notice. Those aren't the only times, but they were probably the biggest factor for me making the decision to elope. I have talked about it with my family before, and I was told I should be celebrating along with them because every little moment with her is a miracle, and when you have someone like my sister in the family, you have to forget your own wants. When I have talked to my sister, she has told me she needs it. She needs to feel wanted and loved, and like she's less of a burden. I didn't want that for my wedding. I didn't want my special day to be made all about her. So I chose to just make it my husband and me. But my family are upset. The unspoken fight is my sister might not be here for all that much longer, and I took away her chance to see me get married. I took away my parents' chance to see my wedding day when they will never see hers. The extended family told me it would have been a good time to see my sister too, and all this other stuff. Right after we got back, we learned my sister's cancer had spread to another area, and I think that has made everyone even more sour towards me. AITA? I'm sorry if this sounds harsh, but not everything in life revolves around your sister, and you shouldn't be expected to consider her in all of your life decisions. You did what was best for you and what made you the happiest. You deserve to put yourself first, at least some of the time. And your wedding is definitely one of those big moments that should be all about you and your partner. Your family needs to get over it and accept that you live your own life and that you're entitled to making your own decisions. NTA. NTA, you deserve your special moments, even though your sister is sick, and this is very sad and stressful for everyone. Nobody knows just how much time they have, so every opportunity for celebrating special moments should be taken. And also, you have every right to get eloped, even if the circumstances were different. It's not like you had a big, lavish wedding and excluded her specifically. Please don't let them guilt trip you. My niece, let's call her Jane, is 26 years old. She is the daughter of my sister who passed away 4 years ago after an illness that lasted more than 15 years. Jane is a great girl. She really is smart, intelligent. She had a very rough childhood because of her mother's illness and took care of her until the day she passed away, for which I am very grateful. She also took care of the administration after her death and kept on taking care and helping her grandmother, who is my mother. My mom and Jane have a great relationship. Jane studied at university and found a job in her university town, 1.5 hours away. She still kept on visiting my mother every weekend, even staying from Friday evening till Sunday evening, even took days off when she had to go to the hospital to take care of her, help her pay her bills, take her dog in when she was in hospital, arranged help at home for my mother, etc. I live 10 minutes away from my mother, but work at night, so in the daytime I sleep. I also have two sons who are 20 and 22, so they are a bit young to help their grandmother. 2 years ago, Jane met her boyfriend Daniel, 30, male, last year in November and December. My mother often felt alone, cried a lot, was in and out of hospital. When she felt sad, I asked Jane to call her or visit her because I didn't have time for that. As said, I work at night and sleep during the day. Jane also had to take care of my mom's dog when she was in the hospital because, again, I work at night. I also asked her to bring my mom to the hospital during the day a few times because I had to sleep. Anyway, since a few months, Jane does less for my mother and for me. She no longer runs all the errands when my mom doesn't feel great and I call her early in the morning. She doesn't immediately stop by to pick the dog up, but asks to see how the situation goes. She no longer runs my errand either when I can't. Now she only visits 1 time a week, for example, after work, and no longer on weekends, it seems. Instead of calling my mother each day, she only calls every other day. I am now in a situation where I have to do a lot for my mother. I run errands. I sometimes pay her bills when there are some. Sometimes I even need to change plan for this. And to be honest, I don't think it's fair. I don't think this is fair on me, nor on my mother, because it's not her fault that her daughter passed away. I would like Jane to step up more and stop being selfish. AITA for wanting my niece to help out with her grandmother? YTA, I feel so sorry for the niece. No support from her family at all throughout the years. She must have felt so alone, incredible weight to bear at such a young age. A real man would do anything to help their family. There are so many solutions to this problem, and you know that. No one is that dense. YTA, Jane is not your mother's nurse. You and both your sons are adults and capable of helping out. 20 and 22 are not too young, seeing Jane was doing all that for her grandmother and taking care of her dying mother 4 years ago. I've worked night shift, and you have time before and after work to do jobs, to check in, to follow up with things that she needs. You have days off that you can spend time with her. Encourage your son. You can do it if you want to, but you're not making your mother a priority. You won't get this time with her back. It's worth you and your sons being more present now. I suspect Jane is exhausted from all that responsibility plus work, plus a relationship, plus a 3 hour round trip every weekend, eating up her free time while her uncle and cousins are relying on her to keep doing everything when they live 10 minutes away. Take a good look at yourself. YTA, your sons are adults, and I have an incredibly hard time believing you actually think they're too young to help out. I'd lay money on you actually thinking they're too male. Get your kids to step the hell up and stop nagging your niece to continue providing all the care just because that's easier for you. I'm willing to bet she was doing a lot for her mother and grandmother while she was way younger than your kids are now.